This is Bob Duchense's Wild Maine, a show so packed with outdoor information that within 5 minutes you will know how many lemmings a snowy owl can eat in 1 year.
One owl will eat 1,600 lemmings a year, so that's 3 to 5 a day. That's a lot of lemmings.
Later on today's show, we'll get a sneak preview of an event next weekend, the 77th Eastern Maine Sportsman Show. If there's a bigger outdoor-oriented event on this end of the state, I don't know what it is. Fishing, hunting, boating, dog training, moose calling, and storytelling, it takes up the entire University of Maine Fieldhouse, Memorial Gym, and pool area. What's new? What's not? That's coming up. But first, we've got an invasion on our hands. Snowy owls have overrun the state for the third year in a row. Snowy owls are big and white. They're the heaviest owl in North America. Normally, they stay up in the Arctic tundra. Sometimes they wander south in winter, but never like this. In the last 100 years, there has never been an invasion this big. You're about to find out why. Bob Duchense's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dysarts, EBS, and Napa Auto Parts. Kids know what they are because that was Harry Potter's pet owl at Hogwarts. My first memory of seeing a snowy owl's picture was on White Owl cigars, 50 years ago when you could still advertise tobacco on television. For an early part of my adult life, it was a bird so elusive that I could just hope to one day see one. Snowy owls breed on the Arctic tundra. Every once in a while, one wanders south of the border. I finally saw one at the airport in Bangor in January 1992. Now, I've seen a few since. Then, 3 winters ago, snowy owls started popping up everywhere. Down at Biddeford Pool, there was a single snowy owl that appeared many winters, but that winter, 17 different owls showed up on the Christmas bird count. I spent some time driving around southern Maine and picked up 4 just sitting on rooftops in Wells and Algonquin. There were a couple last winter at the airport in Trenton. The mountaintops in Acadia has had bunches over the last 3 years. Aroostook County has dozens. Something strange was going on. Last week, Aaron Call explained it all to a packed house at the Fields Pond Audubon Center in Holden. Aaron is a biologist at the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. It was standing room only. I have never seen so many cars parked there. So I wormed my way up front, sat on the floor, and stuck up a microphone. First thing I learned, they're not all as white as the ones I remember from the cigar box.
They do vary in color and size. They're not just all pure white all the time. Age is one reason. So you have younger owls that will be more darker in color, have more of this brown coloration than older owls. And another thing that explains the variation in color and size is gender. So male owls are generally, they are whiter and they are 20% smaller. You could have a young male owl that would be more brown than an older male owl. So as they get older, they get more white as males. So once again, sex, age, and then the variation in size, you can have a height anywhere from 1.75 to 2 feet tall, and weight 5.5 to 6.5 pounds. So they are one of the more, if not the most, heaviest owl in North America. And that's due to mostly the very, very thick plumage, a lot of feathers to keep them warm. And very distinct yellow eyes and feathers that cover both their beak and all of their feet. And that's to, once again, keep them warm in really frigid, harsh conditions, temperatures. So in terms of habitat, they prefer treeless tundra landscapes. So during the breeding season, they're in the tundra, no trees. And then as they move south, you can find them on frozen lakes, as we see here. And then landscapes without trees, so agricultural areas, shorelines, beaches, and then a little bit problematic here, they tend to be drawn to airports, which is not good for the owls or people.
Let's get to it. Why do we suddenly have so many snowy owls? The answer is lemmings. The little critter that, according to legend, used to fling themselves off cliffs in a mass suicide when there got to be too many. Well, that wasn't true, but their populations can just explode up there in the Arctic. And unlike many other far northern rodents, they don't hibernate, which means that predators rely on them in the Arctic. Inevitably, the reason we have a lot of owls is if we have a lot of lemmings.
And they're really the foundation prey of Arctic ecosystems. One owl will eat 1,600 lemmings a year, so that's 3 to 5 a day. That's a lot of lemmings. Now, they do eat other things, obviously, as they move around. They're very nomadic creatures, so as they travel around, they will eat other small mammals, mice, voles, rabbits, hares, squirrels, weasels, and then different types of birds, pretty large birds, too. Wading birds, seabirds, ducks, grebes, and geese. So pretty powerful, large birds. Now, because they are so focused on these lemmings, and lemmings, as you may or may not know, follow these boom and bust population cycles where there's many, many lemmings and then very few. Many, many, very few. And that's thought due to their foraging habits, food cycles. And so the owls, as we can see here, closely follow, in terms of their population cycle, of the lemmings. So in terms of nesting, they breed at least age 2 or older, and they pair for life. So does anyone know what that left bird is? That a male or a female on the left? Right here.
Female.
Try again.
Male.
Right. The little guy. It's the opposite of what you would expect. And they pair for life, but it's kind of a loose pairing, is what I read. Kind of, sort of. So, whatever, monogamous, but I kind of go with the flow.
Let me stop it right there. In the bird world, there are some pretty strong pair bonds. Some birds do mate for life, but if one dies, it doesn't take long to pair up again. And even among mated pairs, there can be a lot of fooling around. The Maine state bird, the chickadee, is monogamous sometimes. Yeah, they fool around too.
And they start laying eggs in late May, early June, anywhere from 3 to 11 eggs, great variation there. And the female incubates or keeps the eggs warm for 32 days, and during that time, the male is delivering food to her. So you had a huge number of young owls surviving because they just had all the food they could ever ask for. And so the winter of 2013, all of these owls moved south because there were so many of them. They couldn't really all live up there crammed in the, in the Arctic without a lot of food. So they moved south, and that's what we call an eruption, this sort of irregular movement of owls out of the tundra. And you can also have an eruption in a bust year, so not many lemmings. It's kind of hard times up there, so you could have owls moving south when there's not a lot of lemmings as well. But 2013, we had just a huge superabundance of lemmings during the breeding season.
Maine is thousands of miles from where the lemming population exploded. But what happened up there is the reason for what is happening down here. This part of today's show happened live at Fields Pond Audubon Center in Holden last week. Erin Call is a biologist for the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and she's explaining it all to a standing room only crowd. Up next, just how big was this explosion of snowy owls? Stand by. This is Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Coming up, a preview of next weekend's 77th annual Eastern Maine Sportsman Show. But right now, we're taking a close look at a natural phenomenon. 3 years ago, there was such an explosion in the Arctic lemming population that snowy owls could raise all the babies they wanted. When winter came, many of those owls were forced south in search of food. For the past 3 winters, Maine has seen more snowy owls than anyone could ever have imagined. Erin Call is a biologist at the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. We're at Fields Pond Audubon Center, and she's now standing in front of a map showing where all the owls have turned up. It turns out these Arctic owls have wandered all the way down into Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and even much, much farther.
And as we can see here, just a huge area, and this was an unprecedented eruption event. Not seen for over a century. This hadn't occurred in this number, that huge of area. And we had birds, snowy owls seen in Bermuda and Florida even. So really remarkable. So to move into research, now that we kind of, shared what we know about snowy owls, Project Snowstorm is a research project that formed in response to this huge eruption event in 2013-14. And it's a collaboration of the top-notch snowy owl scientists in the world. And the purpose was to learn more about these birds. So these are some of the things that we want to learn more about. That was the focus of this Project Snowstorm, the winter movement ecology. So learning more about localized and landscape level movements at an individual bird level. So what are they doing day to day? What are they doing within the season? How does that vary from one bird to the next? How does it vary in the Great Lakes versus the Mid-Atlantic versus the Northeast regions? What type of habitats are they using during the winter season? And what are their hunting habits at night? Now, they do hunt day or night. That's kind of a unique thing about snowy owls, because in the Arctic you can have periods of pure darkness and pure light. So they are versatile in that regards, but there was a need to learn more about what they're doing at night in this winter season. What are they being exposed to in terms of environmental contaminants or toxins? And that includes heavy metals such as mercury, lead. It can be pesticides, rodenticides. So that was something that was very important to know, what levels and whether that was a factor or not in their success. And then the transmitter is put on some very special birds, not all of the birds that are caught. And unlike traditional transmitters that use a satellite network, these use a cell signal network. So if the bird goes out of cell range, this transmitter can store up to 100,000 locations. So even years later, when that bird comes into cell range, those locations can be downloaded automatically. So to go into, very briefly, the results from the 2013-14 year in terms of tracking with those transmitters, there was a tremendous amount of individual variation between owls. So you had some owls that really were homebodies. They didn't move more than a few miles from where they were captured, and other owls that moved hundreds of miles in a couple of weeks. And they were found using habitat, frozen large water bodies. So that could be the Great Lakes or on the East Coast in the ocean. And they were kind of attracted to these frozen leading edges where you'd have some ice and then some open water. And it's thought the reason why they were attracted to those areas was the presence of water birds as prey. So that was something new that we learned about using the tracking results.
This explosion of snowy owls out of Canada and into our backyards is unprecedented. Even today, you have a good chance of finding snowy owls in Herman, Hamden. There's one hanging around Bangor, not far from where the Pushaw Road hits Broadway. This kind of phenomenon is naturally getting some attention, which gets money. And that's good, because each one of these high-tech tracking devices costs $3,000. One thing that is becoming apparent is something only Fox News disputes.
Climate change. And as we have increasing temperatures in certain areas, that affects the snowpack, the habitat, and then the lemmings and their predators, snowy owls, so it's all kind of connected. Here is an interesting pattern that's showing up in Norway, where increasing temperatures have resulted in kind of soggy conditions, not a lot of snow, and that snow protects the lemmings from the owls. So less snow means these lemmings, as we can see here, the number of lemmings over the years, starting in the mid-1990s, these lemmings are no longer exhibiting those boom-bust population cycles. Those cycles are kind of dampening out, and this has resulted in a decrease of predators of lemmings like snowy owls. So this is in Norway. In the Canadian high Arctic, we're not seeing that. Those lemmings are still exhibiting the boom-bust cycles, so that's a good thing, but something just to keep in mind that climate change will definitely affect owls in certain regions.
I talked with Bangor International Airport Manager Tony Caruso recently. At one point, the airport had up to half a dozen owls they were dealing with. Because owls can be a danger to aircraft, they are often captured and relocated. Still, there are some around Bangor. They're in Acadia. They're up in the county. Always remember one thing.
When you're viewing, always keep a safe distance. Even if these owls may appear tame, they may appear calm and okay with you being really close, you can affect their prey and the behavior of their prey. They may not be as likely to show themselves, so you may be robbing the owl of a meal. So that's something to keep in mind. And secondly, never lure or bait. So some photographers might throw out a fake lure to get the great shot of an owl swooping in close, but that owl's using up energy that it could be using to get a nice meal. And even if you do throw out a mouse and give them a nice meal, a lot of these birds coming down are younger birds, and this is their time to learn how to hunt, and you're kind of disrupting that natural behavior and that natural learning process by throwing a little white mouse on the snow.
And that's where we'll leave it. You've been listening to part of a presentation on snowy owls offered by Aaron Call at Fields Pond Audubon Center in Holden just over a week ago. Aaron is a wildlife biologist at IF&W. Snowy owls, the heaviest owl in North America, and for the third winter in a row, invading us from the far north. Up next, a preview of the 77th Eastern Maine Sportsman Show that's 1 week away, and we'll discuss who is better at fly fishing. Guys really struggle with this more than the women do.
Women pick it up bang. My daughter, when I started showing her how to fly fish, she's Dad. I can do that, and she did.
It's Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine. Saturday mornings at 9, Sunday mornings at 8. Next weekend, the 77th Annual Eastern Maine Sportsman Show takes over the athletic complex of the University of Maine in Orono. It's a huge 3-day event run by the Penobscot County Conservation Association. Woody Higgins is my go-to guy. Well, Woody, welcome back to Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine.
Thank you very much.
We're up to 77 now. Isn't that amazing?
It is, and the show is all volunteers. Nobody in the group gets paid. The money that raised helps make, obviously, the club function, but it also does a lot of our programs for kids and scholarships, etc.
I wonder if there's anybody still alive who was at the first one. You'd have to be over 100.
I think, yeah, because there was a couple of years, and I'm not sure exactly what years they were in World War II when there wasn't a show. So
right.
It's actually been probably closer to 80 years that the club's been go on. I think the first show was like the second or third year after the club was formed.
Yeah. Well, you got stuck with publicity again this year, so let's go over the calendar. Is this a curse you'd like to pass on to somebody else sooner or later?
No, I'm tickled because I love the show and I love doing it, and it's just a lot of fun.
Well, same as usual. You can pay per day, or you can get a 3-day wristband. I think it's $8 a day this year, and $15 if you want the unlimited 3-day pass.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. And you can get that right at the door.
You can get it at the door. Yep. No, it's not pre-sold.
Yeah, in fact, I bought mine on the first day last year and had to shower with it for 2 days, and it worked out fine. For all of those who have been a lot, is there anything different about this year's show?
We have actually the largest number of new exhibitors this year that, I've been doing the show about 12 years now. I've been involved with it for a lot longer than that. And we have the largest group of new exhibitors this year than we've had in the past. And it's a diverse group of, there's a couple of guides that have come in. There's a guides association of Grand Lake Stream is going to be there with a 20-foot guide canoe that they're going to show off. I can't go down the whole list. There's a couple of new boat dealers. It's a group of diversified outdoor people.
Some of them pretty exotic and far away. I noticed 3 that came to mind. One was Cannonball Runner Charters on Lake Ontario.
Yep.
I don't remember if they had been there before or not.
They've been there a couple of years now, and it's been successful for them.
Yeah.
A lot of people from this area book trips to Fish Lake, Ontario.
And Casting for Recovery. That's the new one on me.
This will be their second year. That's a group that we donate their space. We don't charge them. They take a cancer, I think it's pretty much breast cancer women, and get them involved in fly fishing, and it's a huge. It's kind of like a lot of the veterans get you out doing something and get your mind off your problems.
Which really works. I mean, that is therapeutic, and fly fishing, and there's such a rhythm to it anyway.
Amen.
And to get you outside, and as long as you're
my favorite sport.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, I love to fly fish.
I wanted to fly fish since I was a little kid, and I never ever did it. Someday I may have to correct that, except it's just another way to spend a lot of money that I don't have.
There you go.
Steamboat Lake Outfitters. You got a group from Colorado coming in here this year.
Exactly. He came last year. Last minute, he just happened to. His son, I think it's his son, is a local. Well, he's a local Maine guy. I think he's been in Colorado for a number of years. And he called me the last minute. I had a spot. He came in. He was successful. And he's back, and I think he's also doing a seminar or two for us.
Oh, excellent. Well, let's go over the way the show is set up. There's basically 3 different areas where things happen: the stage, the pool, and classrooms.
Right.
And the stage area, well, you've got essentially what's the big cafeteria area, which is where the Memorial Gym is, and then the field house.
Because of the new floor in the field house, we were asked to move the food into the gym. The gym floor is all tarped to protect the floor, obviously, and we moved it out there last year, right next to the stage area. Actually turned the stage around from where it was, and it was very successful. The people on the stage were pleased because they had an audience all the time, people that were watching them, plus people that were eating. We had to, with the new floor in the field house, we had to make quite a few changes, but everything went really well.
It seemed to.
And, there's been some more changes this year, so people want to be aware when they come to the show. Will be the entrance to the show this year will be facing the Alfond Arena instead of the big doors that face the quad. So that's a new thing, and the flow of traffic will be a little different because some of the hallways have changed inside.
Yeah, no, that's the first thing I would have done is gone to the wrong door. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, we will have a lot of signs. The shuttle bus that runs between the Performing Arts Center, the steam plant, will be dropping people at the new entrance, and there'll be a bunch of signage put out to point that out.
So what time does it open up on Friday night?
It opens at 5, runs till 9. On Saturday, it opens up at 9 and runs till 8. And on Sunday, it opens at 9 and runs till 3.
Now, it really kicks off with a bang because you've got Tim Caverly doing his Allagash Tales at 6 p.m. on Friday night.
Yes, and Tim does an awesome job. He's a great guy, and he really does a good job for us.
I actually wrote the foreword for his upcoming book.
No kidding.
Yeah, so if you hear a scraping sound, that's the bottom of the barrel.
Will you be in the front row of the audience?
I very well might be. I'm certainly going to catch him while he's there because he's doing a classroom show later. And
right.
But anyway, Tim will kick that thing off, and then it's followed by a lot of search and rescue dog exhibits and stuff, and guns up retrievers again. So the dogs take the stage very early.
The dogs, they've been there, it seems like forever, and they just do a great job for us. We, between the stage and the pool where they get in there and do some retrieving in the pool, it's one of the big, I think it's one of the nice draws to the show. It brings something I'll get into a little bit. When I took the show over, I kind of want to say in the advertisement, it's not your father's sportsman show. When I took it over, I saw we didn't have a lot of stuff for families, and over the last 10 years, we've tried to evolve the show into something that the whole family can come to, and mom can enjoy it. The kids can have something to do. We got the the fly tie-in. We got a lot of stuff that's hands-on throughout the show, demonstrations and such. And it really shows over the last 5 or 6 years where we see a tremendous amount of families coming through the door.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought there were so many kids there last year.
Amen, and it's just great. They have that's what we want. We want to get the whole family, and obviously we want to get that next couple of generations involved in the outdoors.
Yeah. My guest is Woody Higgins. We're previewing next weekend's Eastern Maine Sportsman Show. When we get back in a moment, we'll go over the schedule a bit. There's some good stuff on the calendar, and Bob Duchense's Wild Maine is going to help you plan. On Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket with Bob Duchense's Wild Maine. The Eastern Maine Sportsman Show is next weekend. 3 days of everything outdoors. A lot of volunteers make this happen. Woody Higgins is the volunteer in charge of publicity. When we took a break a moment ago, we were just about to take a quick look at the schedule. Well, Classroom Friday night, you're going to be talking about upland game birds and then woodcock and ruffed grouse, which is, for the hunters, really
right,
really good. And then Lindsay Ware, the United Blood Trackers, is going to do another classroom presentation. I'm hooked on what she does. I have had her on my radio show a couple of times now, and it's fascinating what their little dogs can do.
Can I tell you how I met her?
Oh, please do.
I met her when I wounded a deer and couldn't find it. We met in the pitch dark at 10:30 at night in November, and we hunted. And unfortunately, we ran into the deer that I had wounded had gone into a whole bunch of other deer, and deer went every which way, and we just never were able to pick the deer up any further than that. But we got talking, and that's a volunteer thing. They don't take any money. I talked to her. I actually paid her. She and her husband Ben's dues at the conservation club for a year, and talked her into coming into the show. I think it's a wonderful thing, and a lot of people don't know about it.
Absolutely, I think it's spectacular, and the job they do is tremendous. Yeah, and people need the help. I mean, sometimes you just can't recover a deer that you know is out there.
Yeah, that's right.
And just listening to them tell tips about how not to mess up a site.
Don't do anything. Come get us. It's pretty.
Well, there's some real basics like flag where the hit area was, so you can find it again.
I shouldn't have joked about it. It's pretty serious stuff, and my son has actually retrieved a beautiful buck using another person, but the night that I was looking for mine, we couldn't get the gal that had helped him, and she recommended Lindsay, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, that'll pretty much wrap up Friday night, but Saturday, of course, is a really big day. You start with the dog demonstrations on the stage area again, so there's a lot of dog activity, and then the owls are coming back just before noon.
Right. Bird's Acre out of Ellsworth brings every year comes, and it's a great place to go. I mean, it's a great place to go to Ellsworth and see what they do there. And they just do it's a crowd drawer again. It's another one that people like to see.
And he brings 3 different owls, as I recall. He's got a saw-whet owl, a barred owl, and I think he's still got a great horn that he brings. I know he's got at least 2 that he brings, and sometimes 3.
And sometimes it depends on what he has. That he might have released some of the birds. They recover. I'm not sure that most of the birds he brings aren't going to recover, but it's always a little different every year.
Yeah. So, and he'll do that show twice. I think once before lunch and then once in
the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've got Chandler Woodcock, the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, coming to tell everybody what's going on again.
Yep. He'll be there. I think it's noontime.
Right
around noontime.
And then the dogs and the owls will take over again after lunch. One of the nice things about doing it right there is you have a built-in lunch crowd that likes the seating anyway, so you can combine watching a show and eating.
Right. Once we moved, actually we were concerned about moving the food booth out there, and actually it worked out. The food booth is a very nice profit center for us. I'm not sure that I should say that, but
well, that secret's out now.
we're very. It's a lot of work, and again, everybody there. All of us are volunteers. None of us get paid a dime for this. So the money that people spend at the door to get in is what puts on club activities. I can't stress that enough. It doesn't go anywhere but in pretty much into the local community with quite a lot of college scholarships. We do 22 scholarships at University of Maine. We do another 7 or 8 at Unity College, and a bunch down at University of Maine, Machias, and we usually spend a bunch of money every year sending kids to conservation camp. So,
yeah, I don't think people know just how much you do. It's pretty impressive.
The funds we raise, like I say, it does help make the club run and pay our bills there, but it also goes back into the community in a lot of different ways.
It's a good thing you only have to do this once a year, then.
Woo.
Kind of wear you right out.
It's a year-long job. When
Yeah.
you start, we start within a month after this show's over, and bang, we're back into almost into March again.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's mostly dogs and owls, and the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Commissioner on stage on Saturday. In the pool area, as always, you start out with the demonstrations of canoes and kayaks from Old Town Canoes.
Right.
And that goes like an hour
and
and a
Old
half.
Town has a huge booth in the show. They're one of our biggest displays in the field house.
Well,
Beautiful.
it's such a good opportunity to see what they offer these days, because they're always improving their line.
Changing all the time.
Yeah. And you know, there's been such a switch to kayaks over the years.
Yes.
So to be able to look at both and see how they work, that's a really good opportunity.
Something I didn't mention, when you come through the door and you pay the $8, $1 of that, or we give you a ticket, and we draw off an Old Town Canoe on Sunday afternoon. So your ticket, you put your name and phone number on it on that ticket stub we give you. Find the canoe, which, as I sell booth space, it moves in different places, but it is in the building somewhere. And put your ticket in there, and on Sunday afternoon we shuffle them all up and pull one out, and you might take home a 16-foot Old Town Canoe.
Not me, because I never ever win these things.
And I can't. So.
Right, yeah. Once the canoe kayak demonstrations are over, though, the dogs are back in the pool, and I always wonder if you have to clean the hair out of the filters.
I let the university handle that.
Okay. But that's a good demonstration of the dogs
Yes,
who
it
are
is.
retrievers.
Yeah.
After that, later in the afternoon, this is one of the things that keeps me coming back every year, because I always need the refresher on paddle safety and rescue.
Yeah, they do it. I'm not sure who he's got doing it this year. Is it Karen Franco?
It's got to be Karen.
She does an awesome job.
I think she's been doing it since birth.
She's been doing it for a long time. She's just very, very good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the dogs and demos will go back in again. Classrooms are really busy on Saturday. I was looking over the schedule, and some of it's kind of exotic. Like I think you opened with fly fishing in Quebec. And then becoming a Maine guide.
There's several schools in the state. We have one. We don't put it on. We offer our clubhouse to Carol and Lila Ware, and they do guide schools at our clubhouse in Brewer through the summer. So.
And he can make it sound like fun. Both of them can, actually,
because they're great people.
Very engaging.
I've been on a couple of trips with them, and man, they're wonderful.
Woody Higgins and I are talking about next weekend's Eastern Maine Sportsman Show. This is Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine. For anyone deeply interested in Maine's wildlife and hunting traditions, there is a special session next weekend that will be hidden away in one of the classrooms. We'll tip you off about it next on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. You're listening to Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine. Woody Higgins is my guest, and the topic is a preview of next weekend's Eastern Maine Sportsman Show. Here's one I really want to point out to everybody. You're going to do a classroom presentation of Maine's Wildlife Action Plan. That is way more important than most people realize.
It definitely is, yes.
Yeah, it's like every 10 years, the state of Maine, through the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Department, has to update its Wildlife Action Plan. I see so many people second-guessing the department or saying this is how things should be managed or this is how things should be prioritized. And those who complain never realize this is a public, open process with lots of planning.
Exactly. You can sit in, give them your opinion, ask questions. It should be well attended, and people should realize that it's not strictly done by the department. There's a lot of a public opinion opportunity. Yeah,
I mean this is a pretty open state when it comes to being able to voice your opinion on wildlife management issues, and there's an opportunity not only to engage in it but actually learn about it in the classroom this Saturday.
Right.
Later on in the afternoon, I think 1:15, if I remember from the calendar, you're going to teach kids how not to get lost, and if they do get lost, how to stay safe. That's pretty timely.
Yep. We're getting close. This snow will be gone.
Yeah, you think?
It's definitely something that part of when we send these kids to conservation camp, they learn there, but this is an opportunity to pick up some pointers and learn some stuff right here at the show.
I would recommend also looking at the schedule to check out the classroom offerings of Aislinn Sarnacki, because she's going to do 2 presentations this year. The first one on lesser-known hikes. And I think that's on Saturday afternoon. And I'm thinking, once she tells everybody, are they still lesser known?
Well, they get to be known a lot better, I would say that.
Yeah.
And she does her articles in the paper are really, really right to the point. And if you've never met her, she's does a super job.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Whatever they're paying her, it's not enough.
Right.
No.
Right.
In fact, she'll do that one, lesser known hikes on Saturday. Sunday, she's doing hiking lessons learned the hard way.
I think I could give you a couple of those.
I'm sitting in on that one. I know I'm going to that one.
And she and John Holyoke will be pretty much all weekend long at the Bangor Daily News booth at the show, too.
Yeah.
They both will be there if you got questions and want to go meet them and talk to them.
Yeah, I'll probably be hanging around the booth on Sunday afternoon if you have any bird questions, too, because that's what I did last year. Yeah. Also, the classroom caribou hunting is going to come on the schedule, and it ends with insects that trout like.
Now, there's one I should sit in on.
Well, apparently this is all about the insects in Maine. It's about mainstream related, and what is it they're eating? I think I'd like to know.
And we've got a couple of bug people out in the show. We'll have a booth that has from the state that has to do with where you can get information about ticks. I mean, all kinds of insects, but ticks is a real big issue with us, and people need to be really aware of what to look for and what can happen. And the other one will be a cooperative extension booth that'll be at the show this year. So this what trout are interested in, but what the public should be aware of with some of the bugs that are giving us a little problems in the state.
Yeah. In fact, not just the booth, but there's actually a classroom on Sunday afternoon on ticks and mosquitoes.
Yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think it's the kind of thing that is becoming a bigger and bigger problem.
Yeah. Very definitely.
Yeah, it used to be mosquitoes only bitch and made you itch, but now West Nile and
Triple
E and
the ticks with the fevers and
the ticks are god awful.
Lyme disease and all that stuff, and they're everywhere. I mean, I'm outdoors an awful lot, and I know you must be with your birds, and you have to be very, very careful when you check yourself over.
Yeah, and I didn't grow up that way. I don't even think about it.
No, you don't think about it. No, me neither.
No, I'm going to pay the price for that.
Like you said, mosquitoes and maybe poison ivy, and that was about it.
Yeah. All right, Sunday starts off with a bang again. The dogs are back on stage, but probably one of the highlights is the moose calling contest.
Yes, that is always fun.
I think, if I remember right, you're going to start off with some instructions on moose calling, especially for kids, and then get off to the contest around noon.
Yep, exactly.
So it'll be time for lunch. Essentially, when you're planning your opportunity to be there on Sunday, just plan lunch around the moose calling and be entertained.
Yep. It's a good way to sit there, enjoy lunch, and listen and watch.
Mm-hmm. More dogs after the moose calling contest, and then at 2:15, you've got something on the calendar called "So You Think You Know Maine's Wildlife Species Quiz." I think Jerry Longcore put that together.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, because he wrote me into it, and I don't know what I'm doing. Either I'm going to look brilliant or a moron.
Good for Jerry.
It
so
depends on what I'm
2:15,
asked.
I need to be sitting in front watching this.
You do. If there's a lot of bird questions, I'm good. But if it's anything else, I'm going to look like a real idiot. Aside from that, in the pool area, I think on Sunday you still got more Old Town canoe demos and fly casting demonstrations, which I saw the fly casting demonstration with Carol Ware last year, and he made it look easy, and it's not.
Fly fishing is so easy. It's honestly, people make it out to be so hard, and it really isn't. I don't know how I can explain it, but it is very simple.
Well, what really Carol
and
really
I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, bananas! I've tried it and I can't do it." But it's the trouble is most people try too hard to do it.
That's what I learned out of what Carol was teaching last year. Carol Ware was
relax and let it flow, I guess.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of good tips. One is you should be able to do this with a phone book underneath your arm.
That's my grandfather taught me with a newspaper under my arm.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Because he said that guys really struggle with this more than the women do.
Women pick it up bang. My daughter, when I started showing her how to fly fish, she's Dad.
Yeah.
I can do that, and she did. I don't know if she's as good as I am, but she's really good. She's a good fly caster. So. Well,
there's so many people who think they have to overpower it and really fling that line out there, and that's not the way it works.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we talked about casting for recovery, and that's part of what they do is it just makes it so simple, and it takes your mind away from some of the issues, other issues.
Exactly. All right, some of the hands-on stuff. You can do things like fly tying, air gun range, archery range, casting for kids. What else is there? Am I missing anything on what you can actually touch and play with?
I'm thinking that Unity College students have a booth there. Now, they always have hands-on for kids. I'm not sure exactly what they'll have because it's different every year. The University of Maine Student Chapter Wildlife Society will have a booth in the pit, which will have a lot of hands-on stuff, usually furs and skulls and outdoor, animals that for kids. There's a lot of that kind of stuff around the show, and I never really know. I ask a lot of the people that come to have things to do, to touch, to feel. There'll be a snowshoe. A gentleman coming with doing snowshoes. I've asked him to be working on some snowshoes, so if you've got questions, he will have parts and pieces there. It's that kind of a situation in a lot of places where the Maine youth from Fishing Game from Old Town.
Oh yeah, Maine Youth Fishing Game Association.
They'll have a booth there. They'll have stuff. Again, every year they have hands-on exhibits for kids to get involved with, and it's just whatever they come with, and I guess that's what I was alluding to when I said I've tried to make this more of a family-friendly show. Is that as you walk around the show, you're going to run into things in different places that are specifically to get people involved. And
well, I had one funny thing last year with the air gun range. The classrooms are kind of right behind where the demo was. And I was in there with Brad Allen, and he was talking about sea ducks. And I was recording it for a later radio show. And throughout the entire presentation, you can hear in the background, psh, psh, psh.
Yeah. Well, the air gun range is something that the club purchased a number of years back, and it's portable. It folds right up into a couple of cases that a couple guys can pick up and lug around. It's all ballistic cloth, so there's no concern about BBs going anywhere. And it's amazing. It's how many times we've had other clubs and other groups ask us if we could bring it to their place to do it. And this year we will be at the Moose Drawing in Bethel with the air gun range for at least one day.
Well, it's certainly popular because the kids line up to do it.
Kids love it, but we've taken it down to Cabela's the last 3 or 4 years for their outdoor day in May or June, and it's amazing how many adults have never shot, and they sit down and say, "Oh, come on, you can try it." Well, they're kind of no, it's for kids. No, you can try it, and they get right into it. And the gentleman at Cabela's, Greg, that the manager there, will tell you when we're there with that, he says, our sales in air guns goes right up. He said, we sell more air guns a couple days a year you're here than any other time.
Well,
and it is a lot of fun, and it's very safe, and it's something that you can set up a range in your backyard or your cellar if you do it right.
When I was growing up, I had my little spot in the woods. It was all mine. And I was really good at doing my chores up until I got a BB gun from Montgomery Ward. And then my parents could no longer find me for chores. I was always out there doing that.
You're out there having fun.
Absolutely. So for anybody who wants to go online, look up information on what the event is all about, what the schedule is, where would you direct them?
Our website is conservationassociation.org. It's all one word. And on that web page is the show. And if you click on the Sportsman Show, you'll see a poster on the front page that gives you the hours and the times. And if you click on Sportsman Show, I think it's on the left-hand side of the page. In there, you'll find the schedule for the program that we've talked about. There's a alphanumeric exhibitor list. Right now, actually, as of today, I have pretty much down to 1 or 2 spots left in the show. We're almost sold out, and like I say, there's a little bit of everything. If you look at the exhibitor list, it's A to Z. There's something for everyone.
And it probably won't snow because we certainly haven't had any snow this winter.
Oh my God! I get nervous about the week. I hate looking at the 7-day forecast the week prior to the show. I'm almost paranoid.
Yeah.
Please be nice. And after After this last month, I'm hoping that maybe we've seen the end of it for a while, or after tomorrow. I'm not sure.
All right, well, let's just repeat the hours one more time. It's at the University of Maine in the Fieldhouse area, and what are the hours for Friday?
It is
Saturdays?
from 5 to 9 on Friday evening, 9 to 8 on Saturday, and 9 to 3 on Sunday. If you come into where the Fieldhouse is and you can't find a parking spot because it does fill up, we run a shuttle bus from the steam plant parking lot, which is down by the river, and the Performing Arts Center parking lot. We run that all the hours of the show.
So there you have it, the Eastern Maine Sportsman Show at the University of Maine Athletic Complex next weekend. You can listen to this show on the way over because Bob Duchense's Wild Maine returns next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and Sunday morning at 8 a.m. and always online afterwards at 929theticket.com. It's brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dice Arts, EBS, and Napa Auto Parts. This is Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket.